Hi, my name is Gena. I did a technical report on eliminating tips at the restaurant that I work at in Fort Collins, and I wanted to see if it would just be a viable and successful option. So, how many of you have gone out to eat recently? I'm sure most of us either work in the restaurant industry or know somebody who does. A huge topic of discussion lately has been tipping. How much should customers tip their servers? What is determined good service? And should tipping still even be allowed? I work as a server at Bojo's in Fort Collins. Just recently, we implemented a no tipping policy at this location to see if it would be a viable option for all of the Bojo's restaurants in Colorado. Today, I will be talking about how we implemented the policy, along with its impact on employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, and turnover rates. First, I'm going to start with how the policy was implemented. Before starting anything, we did initial measurements of employee and customer satisfaction as well as turnover rates. We held an employee meeting to explain the process to everyone and to get any feedback or suggestions. Before recommending this change to policy, Bojo's looked at other establishments that have implemented similar procedures. At Bojo's, back-of-house employees averaged an hourly wage of $12. Their wages increased to $13 to $16 an hour based on experience. Initially, front-of-house employees were paid $5.26 an hour plus tips. With the elimination of gratuity, their wages increased to $13 to $18 an hour based on experience level. In order to compensate for the wage increase, menu prices were increased by 6%, while the lunch buffet price increased by 15%. After the implementation of this policy, it was very important for us to look at employee satisfaction. There was a lot of tension between front-of-house and back-of-house employees due to the fact that front-of-house was making tips and back-of-house was not. The presence of tipping created a divide between employees, and that showed in the initial employee satisfaction surveys when the average was a 2.9. We took measurements in increments of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and 6 months after the policy was put in place and saw a gradual increase in employee satisfaction from both front of house and back of house. There was less tension between employees, and they felt that their wages were competitive to those of their coworkers and other restaurants. Although employee satisfaction is incredibly important, the happiness of the customers throughout this change was a huge factor in determining whether or not it was successful. Customers were presented with a survey similar to that given to the employees. Servers gave them to their customers and asked them to voluntarily fill them out. It had questions on it relating to cleanliness of the restaurant, attentiveness of the server, and the environment of Bojo's as a whole. Initial customer satisfaction was at a decent level before the change of policy. 30 days after, we noticed that customer satisfaction dropped slightly due to the increased menu prices. In all of the rest of our measurements, however, we saw it increase from a mean of 3.1 before the implementation to 3.35 6 months after. The customers are what keeps Bojo's running, so we wanted to ensure that they were happy and enjoyed their experience, which they did. Finally, we looked at employee turnover rates to measure whether or not the change was successful. The initial front-of-house turnover rate was fairly high at almost 76%. Back-of-house was fairly low and remained that way through the entire process. We saw a slight increase in turnover rate right after the policy was implemented, which accounted for the employees who chose to leave and look for employment elsewhere because they preferred earning their tips. 12 months down the line, and we saw that turnover rates decreased to 59% for front of house and 41% for back of house, which is a huge improvement. This drop helped keep turnover rates low and helped Bojo's save money and retain employees. After measuring customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and turnover rates, it's safe to say that the no tipping policy at Bojo's was a success. The restaurant saw less tension between employees, more satisfied customers, and was able to decrease costs by the retention of their employees. All in all, this policy was an example of the viability of the elimination of gratuity, and I think it should be considered at more restaurants nationwide. Thank you.